On this episode of AV Week, we talk all about the coronavirus and the impacts it's having on the AV industry, both from higher ed, Fortune 500, closing offices and bringing everybody home, the impact on the shows that are being canceled and postponed. All that and more. Next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 447, recorded Friday, March 13th, 2020. Coronavirus and AV.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Atlas IED, innovative audio solutions for every business environment, and by
AV Pro Edge, manufacturer of next-level video distribution solutions,
and by
Just Add Power, the global leader in video over IP solutions with systems that give you easy installation, unmatched scalability, and outstanding performance.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, first and foremost, the First Lady of the AV industry. Her name is Corey Schaefer. She is with QSC. Welcome, ma'am.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Also with us, I have no order for this in any way, shape, or form, so I'll just go from right to left in my Zoom Outlook. Mr. Luke Jordan from EA Acoustics from Fort Worth, not Dallas. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I am doing well. With us also is my buddy and pal on the other side of the AVNation universe. He hosts our residential show, and he's also probably one of the better dressed guys in the industry, at least in AVNation, which doesn't really say a whole lot because it's Bradford, Tucker, and me. So,
no.
Mr. Matt Scott, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well.
I'd
And
like
last
to
but not
point
least,
out that he's wearing a V-neck. That's probably why he's so good looking.
that is why. And Mr.
My knee
Jordan
is
has a
unconstricted.
has a thing for V-necks.
It's a beautiful day.
All right. Last but not least, a guy I got to have a chicken sandwich with this week, Mr. Joe Way from USC. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you very much, Tim, for having me on the show.
Absolutely. And if you follow either Joe or I on the Twitters, you will see said chicken sandwich that we got to have with Mr. Mark Coxon. So first, honestly, guys, this entire show is going to be about coronavirus, and I really, really tried for it not to be, but it's going to be. And I'm not, because here's the thing. I said this last week when we did our special on how this is impacting the live staging and events industry. Three really great guests. You should go back and listen to it on our website. Wallace Johnson, our buddy, and Tom Stimpson, and then Lindsay Martin Bilberry. Three great live events folks, how it impacts them. The last 7 days, though, at that point, most of the industry events were still going on. In the last 7 days, and I would honestly argue in the last 48 hours, we're recording this at 2 o'clock Eastern on Friday the 13th. Oh my gosh, it was like an hourly thing, right? Let's start with the industry events themselves. You've got Enterprise Connect, you have Digital Signage Expo, you have Crestron Masters, you have National Association of Broadcasters, NAB. All of these have either canceled or postponed. And I'm going to put the little caveat, a little asterisk on the postponed. Some of those postpones do not have new dates. So we really don't know if it will eventually be postponed or what, but they're saying, or canceled, but they're being postponed. Then you have things that are also impacting folks in the AV industry on a daily basis and their livelihood. You have them MLB, you have Major League Baseball, which is delaying the start of the season by 2 weeks. You have both the NHL and the NBA both canceling or postponing the rest of the season right now. You have the NCAA March Madness basketball tournament, which is canceling completely. At first they said only, no fans, just, family and friends and university staff in the stands. Now nothing at all, right? So these are folks that not only is it impacting the schools, it's impacting the students, but it's also impacting people in the industry. This is stuff that's happened in the last two or 3 days, honestly. So real quickly, and anybody want to comment on this, I'm going to let you, and then we're going to start, kind of go down the road of how it's impacting folks like Joe in the higher education space. But what does this impact not only for the industry and the folks who work these shows, but also for the rest of this in the industry for the rest of our calendar year, because things are spaced out for a reason, right?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in and just say when you postpone a show like NAB, these contracts are negotiated well ahead of time. So picking the venue, having the hotel space, et cetera. This is that just the postponement and trying to push and having it be a moving target is, it's incredibly challenging. And just to kind of add on to the events, when you think about end users, so Google canceled 2 events that I know we at our company were participating in. So Google Next, which is their user conference, and then they also had a partner summit that they were hosting as well. And so everything, the can just getting kicked down. I mean, this is finding the venues for them and making sure the space is available, negotiating the contract. I mean, the ripple effect is the economic impact. I have never experienced anything like this in my lifetime.
Yeah. And also announced today was the Apple Developer Conference is now going to be online, all streamed. We have a number of friends who work for Apple, and they're being impacted as well.
Yeah.
One of the things that is interesting to me is a number of Fortune 500 companies that are pulling folks back and allowing them to work at home. However, there are certain jobs and certain careers and occupations that you can't work at home.
Right.
One of our friends, she's an engineer, and she is a systems engineer for Apple that has a test lab. She can't take the equipment home to her apartment in San Francisco and test it out, right?
Right.
One of the things that we saw while we were in Amsterdam was, a ginormous, video wall. She can't put that in her house, right?
Right.
So people
think about the manufacturing. So QSC does manufacturing in Costa Mesa. I mean, they do have a travel ban. They are asking people that can work from home to work from home, but it's, there are many jobs that you just can't move to a home.
No. All right. And among other things that have been canceled, classes, well, sort of. We'll talk about that in a second. Depending on where you are. And I say this as of, again, 1:30 on Friday the 13th, my kids' school, which is, K through 12 here in just outside of St. Louis, they're preparing to send all the kids home here in the next few days. I have not officially made that announcement yet. I want to assure my wife of that. But as of right now, they have it. But they are preparing that, right? They're getting ready to send at least the junior highs and high schools, making sure they all have laptops and the ability to do things from home.
We just shut down.
You shut down
Ontario.
Brock
Friday.
In Toronto, yeah.
Yep.
Shut down for 3 weeks.
Our the Fort Worth ISD just shut down for 2 weeks, and all of the colleges, state and private, many of them have announced an extended week of spring break, and the teachers are going to come in during that second week of spring break to work on moving all of their in-person classes to an online format in the event that the rest of the semester is online only for every class.
So
our university suspended for the rest of the semester.
What does that mean, though? Because is this a bit like they're not doing classes? And what does that mean to folks trying to graduate?
The announcement yesterday was that they are suspending. They are in quote unquote uncharted territory, and they are literally suspending everything as of today.
Okay.
And they haven't expanded on whether they're going to offer online, how they're dealing with it. They don't know.
Well, and let's also say that we haven't mentioned the time here, and that's important because as of 3:00 Eastern today, President Trump here in the States is going to declare a national emergency. And what that does, it doesn't. Again, I'm being really careful not to do any sort of excite this too much. But what that does is here in the States, it frees up certain federal monies. It allows the federal government to get access to money that may not have had access to, or maybe had to go a different route. It gives them that freedom, right? Joe, though, and I mentioned the fact that I was out with Joe in Orange County a couple days ago. At that time, Joe was a little, I'm not going to say excited, but anticipating this freedom on campus. As a former tech manager, I feel him. Because they were shutting down classes on campus, again, 2 days ago, and they were going to be able to do some of their summer installs and some of their summer work early, a good 2 months, 3 months early. As of now, though, Joe, that's not happening.
Nope. Now we are in pretty much, I would say, shutdown mode. I mean, outside of those who cannot leave, because we do have a very large contingent of Chinese students and international students who actually can't travel anywhere. We have just started almost, I'd say, a complete lockdown, separate out parts of campus, keep only very essential services going. And that means even staff are going to work on alternating schedules and work from home schedules. We now cannot get into our buildings. It's been quite a change. And we were talking about things, we've kind of come up with a little, I'll call it a joke around here. We call it our 6 o'clock surprise, because some announcement from the provost or the president comes out every night at 6 o'clock. We leave for the day thinking we have a plan for the next day, but that gets blown up. And I remember last Friday, actually a week ago today, I'm out to dinner with my wife, and all of a sudden my phone blows up at night because of the announcement that we're going to do a test of online teaching for 3 days, which has now basically been officially through April 14th. But we know that the preparations are, which like everybody else is, expect an announcement very soon. It's just going to be the way it is. And even to what Matt was saying, these uncharted territories, there's academic integrity issues going on. What happens with your classes? You've got coursework that's not designed to be delivered online, research courses, PhD things. There's a lot of things that get impacted that you think, okay, well, nowadays we're where we can teach online, but that's because those courses are designed to be done online. We're now taking an entire university that is not set up for that to say, okay, now have a new learning experience. And you have students now who have to learn in ways and show up, or now been told not to show up. And what does that mean? And how do you serve them? Especially those who can't necessarily afford their own laptop to do this.
And Joe, what about the impact on the network as well, right? So,
Well, I'm proud to say after our first test, so I guess at the peak we had 18,000 active Zoom meetings going on, and our network impact was actually lower than an average Friday night Netflix streaming throughout campus.
Holy cow. Say that again, though.
Yes. So it ranked 4th in our total streaming for the week. Is that crazy or what?
It is.
So we actually got 0 tickets for network issues, 0 tickets for connectivity. Now, there's always going to be, we got tickets like how do I use it and things like that, right? Because it's new. But we got no dropout issues, anything. And that was because as a test, you think everyone is still on campus. It's only going to get better. Well, who knows? When people leave and it's not being done all within our own network. Of course, now this is the other issue. You're assuming everybody has good internet when they go home. You're assuming, all these other practices where we're doing it on campus, it's a controlled environment. But when I saw the reports, and I saw the report again today, we do daily emergency operations meetings with everybody who is considered essential to the teaching and learning experience and the IT support. And the numbers only got better after day 2.
Wow.
And after I'm sitting here thinking, he said he tweaked some things. And I'm like, what did you have to tweak? I mean, but now it got even better, and now they're integrating the Blackboard into it. So I am I'm impressed. I wish I could, I really want to be our network team when they go through their annual review, because they're just going to pull up those slides and show how great this went. But so far, it's been good. So far, I'll tell you the biggest issue we've had is the youth who don't know how to handle something like this, right? They don't know what this means. They're afraid. What is it?
Emotionally, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, and we have over 100 student workers here who now, what is going to happen to my job? I'm here, you mentioned about how this is impacting other workers. Well, I have half my staff's job is to go out and handle trouble tickets. Well, if there's no one on campus, there's no one teaching, there's no treble tickets. What happens with them? Student workers, the same thing. There's a lot of student workers, especially at an institution like us, this is very expensive, who have to work just to assist in any way to put themselves through school. What happens if that paycheck stops and when that paycheck stops? So they're worried, and they're worried for friends and family. You know, I remember when I was a student, the LA riots happened, and I remember that coming around me and kind of that fear that takes over. So you really feel, you know, you have to feel empathy for those who this is impacting, beyond just did the technology work. And that's the whole other side to it.
All right, so let's bring that back around here, actually, for Matt and Luke and Corey at the end here. This impacts also the workers on the other side of that. Joe's his student workers, as well as his regular employees, not regular employees, but his full-time employees. But in talking with a number of integrators this week about ways that, you know, we as an industry can help one another, one of the aspects of this is the impact on the techs, right? And let's just call them the first line, second line techs, first and second level techs, because as we just learned from Joe, his entire campus is shut down. There's nobody coming up from the outside in to help him do installs, right? There's nobody going to U of I to do installs this week or next week or the week after that. Luke, when it comes to something like this that is not planned for, right? Not your fault, but not the university's fault as well. How do you manage when suddenly your techs don't have any place to go?
Right now, it's complicated.
I'm certain.
It is. So we had a job scheduled at a school during spring break, because, you know, no one would be there. So now we have more time to get the job done. Yay. But the school did kind of just call us and ask. They said, if you don't want to do the job this next week, we understand. We would love it to get done, but we want to respect your employees and what they are comfortable with doing. And so on that one, that one situation, I left it up to my crew. I said, you know, it's a school. The school has been shut down. It's a private school. They shut themselves down. And I said, I don't think there's anything to worry about, but it's up to you whether or not we push this job. And I gave my team the decision-making authority in that. And then they said, no, we're good. You know, we're going to use these precautions. Here's the CDC guidelines that we've shared with our company and are asking everyone to follow. And so we're doing preventative measures as we can. But again, I'm leaving it up to my team to decide, do I go on this job site this week?
All right, Mr.
What
Scott,
if they made the decision to not go?
It's a conversation that we'll have at that time, but I am not interested in creating a work environment that people feel scared to come to work, don't feel respected or heard. It's not, I wouldn't say it's an automatic go, no go, but I think it's definitely a conversation of, let's talk about why you feel that way. Or is there someone else in the company that could maybe trade with you? You know, would you feel comfortable coming to the office instead of a job site and have you work on fabricating racks while someone else is willing to go trade places with you? Or is it that specific job site that you have a problem with? Or is it all travel in general? And if you don't have a type of job that you can work from home on, well, now's probably a good time to use some PTO to start with while we figure out a more long-term thing for you. Same time, we have 3 salesmen. I'm in the office. You can see behind me. The other one is on a cruise. The other one's in Belize. So we sent them emails yesterday informing them that they would be doing a 2-week quarantine when they come back from overseas. And sales jobs, the way we do ours, is you're meeting with clients or you're in an office environment. And so it's up to them and their clients. I've had 3 demos canceled today. One was a museum. It's been shut down. But it's just, as far as actually getting out and meeting with clients, it's actually getting harder for me to meet with people. Anything in my pipeline, I'm still able to kind of push that through until we get to the point where we need a decision, because the people making decisions aren't going to meet together and they're not going to commit to spend money because they're trying to figure out, they don't have money coming in maybe, or they don't have the technology for their entire board or a trustee group to get together online. So decisions are going to get pushed down, which is going to affect the POs I place, which is going to affect Corey and all the other manufacturers. So I don't know where that's segueing to, but it just segued.
Well, it actually leads us into the fluidity of this thing, right? Now it depends on which expert and which medical expert you look at. Some are saying that this might start slowing down and getting kind of ramped down somewhere in the neighborhood of June or July. Some are saying that it will slow down in the summer months, but has a possibility of coming back with a vengeance once the weather turns in the northern hemisphere, somewhere around October or November. That actually is a little bit more uncertainty as well, because as we started the show talking about, all of these events that many of us go to are pushing towards that time. And if the medical experts say at that time, well, slow down for a second, now you really can't travel, that's going to impact even more folks. Matt, same kind of question is how do you manage not just the uncertainty, but also your staff when a job that you were planning on suddenly is no longer available?
I think you really have to essentially handle it day by day. There is some forethought you can give to it and some, pre-planning that can happen. But, I've never seen anything like this. I've never experienced.
I don't think any of us have. Yeah.
No, like this is nuts. And from our standpoint, we're a slightly smaller team than Luke. And we've got people that are already remote. We have remote programmers and stuff like that. So they're not really affected directly with us. But we're seeing, even on the residential side, we're seeing clients say, you know what, we can push this off. We also have clients that are saying, hey, you must be free now, so let's pop on by. Some of our corporate clients are dealing with the exact same issues we are.
Yeah.
Of normally most of our team comes into the office. We now need to pivot to let them stay home if they need to. We need to have solutions so if they have to quarantine, because we've got a couple clients that are going through that right now, they've got staff that need to quarantine. Can they be an active participant in their work life, and how can you help us do that? And we're having to look at that as well as balance how much we want to be in somebody else's office, because that, like, at the end of the day, for Luke or myself or Corey or Joe, in theory, who's in your office. You can have those conversations of, nobody's been out of the country, nobody's doing this, nobody's doing this. We know what our we like to think that we know what our family is doing. Yeah, you've been gone. It's you.
And so have you, and so is Corey, and so is Joe. Just want to put that out there.
But that's so I crossed into the U.S. last week, and that was the first question they asked me was, have you been out of the country in 30 days? Where have you been? I'm like, well, 30 days? Amsterdam. And I got a very interesting look from our friendly TSA, border security people. But it's that matter of going into, we have meetings all next week with a couple of corporate clients downtown, 80, 90 people in the offices. And I have that momentary thought of, okay, I'm going in, as long as they're still planning to meet with us. I'm not forcing any of my people to go in.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to go in, yeah, we can reevaluate, but you can't force someone to do something like that, nor should you.
Yeah.
It's that balance of, I hate to say it, but if the majority of the economy kind of slows to a halt and work stops getting done, I'm okay with it if we don't have to hit the point of Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If we hit the point of Italy, that is going to be like, I'm reading I was going
to say, explain to folks if they're not familiar with what exactly is happening.
If you are unaware, Italy in the last probably 10 days has gone from limited travel, please don't gather outside, kind of the way the U.S. is talking right now, as well as Canada, to, as of 2 days ago, the only thing open, mandated to be allowed to be opened are pharmacies and grocery stores. And if their grocery stores are anything like the grocery store that I was in an hour ago, there's not much on the shelves. This is like, we're kind of in that mode of seeing the people that are preppers, which is ridiculous. But the client I was with this morning mentioned that they think they've got, a month and a half, 2 months of food in their freezer. And they were asking if I have enough. And I'm like, no, but I know somebody who's got a month and a half. This is a really weird time. And I don't, for guys like Luke and myself, I have a feeling we're not going to be doing a whole lot of work the next couple of weeks. Well, not to say that Joe won't or Corey won't.
Well,
either,
Joe won't. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Joe won't either.
Joe,
I got a whole stack of gear I can't even install.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, though, is there any silver lining in this? Like, is there a way to, we can do some online trainings that we can attack because we had planned to go to an event. So let's leverage that time. What other things can we do to make us come out of this stronger?
I think this is the perfect opportunity. And this is what internally we're looking at. We've got some marketing we want to redo. We got some, websites that we want to update. I'm looking at this as the golden opportunity to say, okay, we've got a bunch of stuff we need to do. We have stuff we need to do in the shop. We have stuff that we keep kicking down the road. This might be that perfect time to say, hey, for the next week, y'all can come in and we can get everything inventoried and organized in the shop, get everything down, make sure we know, all of those busy work projects that you never have enough time to do. This might be the perfect opportunity. This might be the time when, Luke says to half of his people, say, hey, I want you to go work on, this QSC certification, this QSC certification, and this QSC certification. I got you. And say, you're at home. You're not doing much for us. Let's go do this and let's properly readdress. And I do think, and I keep hearing this, that, again, kind of globally, the market has been in need of a bit of a correction. We see these cycles, and again, this is a weird situation, but as long as we take advantage of it and we don't sit home and watch Netflix all the time, you should be able to be fairly productive if you want to be.
So I think the analogy I love for this, and I agree with you, they say work on the business, not just in the business. But it's the analogy of cutting down a tree. I'd rather spend, 2 days sharpening my axe and 1 day chopping down a tree than 1 day sharpening my axe and 2 days cutting down the tree. This is the type of analogies we come up with in Texas. Very bad country.
Cut down a lot of trees in Texas?
They don't have.
I've done my fair share.
They have trees?
They're bushes.
Cut them all
big
down.
bushes.
We do in
down.
South Texas.
Texas?
Not where I'm at. We have concrete.
They sharpened their saw and cut them all down.
There we go. All right.
There we go.
Real quickly, guys, as we wrap up here, one thing I want to encourage everybody is also to stay cognizant of kind of where you've been. Twitter was talking about, I think it was our buddy Josh Schrago actually who asked if has anybody checked up on the folks that were ISE, and I jokingly said that I'm fine, thanks for asking. But in all reality, since ISE, I have been on 3 separate business trips. I'm not saying that to say anything other than the fact that I have been other places than just Amsterdam. One was with the BLC. Mitchell, our editor, and I went up to Chicago for an AVIXA women's event last week, and then I mentioned that I got to hang out with some folks in the OC this week. So it's not just that. It's not just Amsterdam, right? It's not just did you travel someplace where is a known contagion. I was talking with a manufacturer friend of ours who they had an event in San Jose last week. Well, come to find out this week, one of the TSA agents that was working in the San Jose airport, not in the terminal they were in, but they were at the airport, has tested positive for coronavirus. So now everybody, all of those folks from the manufacturer, they're self-quarantining because of it. Again, not because they came in contact with this agent, but because they were simply in the same airport. So be conscious and cognizant of where you are and kind of watch, right? If somebody from the BLC, God forbid, comes down with something, it's something that we will, as AVNation and as those people who attended that conference, will have to, pay attention to.
Well, look at what happened with the CEDIA Tech Summit in, I believe, Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
They announced mid last week or earlier in this week that someone attending the show had been confirmed after the show of having it. So all of the CEDIA staff at their HQ in Indianapolis shut down and self-quarantine, worked from home. But look at all the vendors that were at that show. Look at all the people that were at that show.
All the integrators.
This is that scary, out of a movie moment of it's not that you were in China or Amsterdam, or it's the local CVS or Walgreens or whatever you have down there or wherever you're listening. It's going into the grocery store. It's a scary potential time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, that's going to do it on that happy note. So thank you all for joining us. Corey Schaefer from QSC. Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, Tim, thanks for having me. And for those who want to find me, qsc.com. And I'm also on the Twitter and other social platforms as Corey Schaefer.
All right, very good. Mr. Luke Jordan from EA Acoustic, who, by the way, we mentioned this last week on the program at the end, but they just won, not Luke specifically, but his company just won a highfalutin Fort Worth, Texas award. So congratulations, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. And you can find me on Twitter at Luke Jordan EAVI or EAVI.com.
All right, very good. Mr. Way, thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. You can find me on all the socials at Josiah Way, and of course more about USC at usc.edu. And of course, during all these trying times, if you need a good laugh and a good smile, I guess you should follow at It's Joe's Show and just see how much my staff really dislikes me. Or loves me.
One of the best social media people in the entire history of the world. Lexi is just fantastic, and Jim as well. But yeah, Lexi is fantastic. Also, your podcast as well, sir, and HETMA.
Yes, and of course I do host the Higher Ed AV podcast. So that's at Higher Ed AV, and the Higher Ed Educational Technology Managers Alliance, which is at hetma.org, and also that we are also doing our own virtual conference on that. By the time this posts, it'll be kind of happening. But so doing a virtual conference. We're doing a flash conference talking about how COVID-19 is really impacting our colleges and our universities, of things that we maybe are doing, we should have done, and maybe some lessons learned. And I know it'll be a continuing conversation. And I just want to say thank you, Tim, for dedicating an episode to this. I know there was a long list of articles that we were going to talk about, but the fact that you kind of recognized and took this time to make this a priority is huge.
Absolutely. I listen to smart people because most of the people I know are smarter than me. So that's why I know them. I surround myself with smart people. All right, Mr. Scott, he's not one of them.
I was waiting for that with bated breath. How is Tim gonna make me feel small and insignificant?
I will argue that our buddy Bradford Ben is also not one of the smartest people in the world right now because he got on a cruise last Friday. But that's beside the point.
Yeah.
He's been looking for this cruise for a long time. So he goes on the
has a lapse in judgment.
I know he does.
To come on your show today.
He does.
Well, it may be a long cruise for him. Maybe longer than he anticipates.
Right. It may be a very long cruise. Oh, all right, Mr. Scott. How do people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Matt D. Scott and pretty much every other social platform. Definitely check out AVWeek as well on this here platform.
Yep.
Here.
You've got a kick butt show coming up on Monday too, by the way.
We do. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And we're totally going to talk about viruses. And
totally. What's funny is one of the guys that's going to be on the show is coming back from, it's not Bogota. I wanted to say Bogota.
I believe it's Bogota.
It was Bogota. Okay, yeah. So you come back from Bogota this weekend. So
Colombia.
Yeah. All right. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me on the Twitters because at this point, the Blues are still the reigning Stanley Cup champions. Now that the NHL season has been canceled 2 years in a row. I just wanted to put that out there. All right. But go by the website if you would, please. AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv. Matt Scott and some folks have done incredible work on that site. So check that out. Also, while you're there, you can check out our supporters section. These are the folks who help us financially, help us bring you AVWeek and ResiWeek, and hopefully and prayerfully in 3 months' time, Infocom 2020, and QSC is one of those. We thank them for their support. Also, while you're there, check out our other shows. We've got some really, really great programs. The folks at AV Social just did one on crisis management surrounding this as well. So really, really great. And some really great ones coming up as well. So all that and more at AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.